Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Well, as you can see behind me, you know exactly where I am today. I'm actually here, finally got the invite to Sema. Unfortunately, due to my scheduling, I was only able to be here for one day. So I'm gonna try and pack in everything I can into this video so you can see what I got to see. Some cool stuff, and some new tools, some cool builds, and just new technology. So we're not gonna waste any more time. Let's just get right into the video. Little interruption before we get started with the video. For those of you that tuned into my video last week, you know that I went to Sema. Unfortunately, due to my work schedule, I was only able to be there one day. So I found this weird situation where I both got more footage than I can possibly need, but also not enough footage when it comes to certain things. So while I've been editing, I kind of realized I need to chop this into multiple videos. My first video, I showed all of the really cool new tools, tech, and booths that were at Sema. It seems like most of the videos like to focus on the cars and the celebrities. Everyone's forgetting about the really cool, unique, and very helpful tools that were debuted at Sema, to the point that there's some I'm probably going to buy. So if you didn't see that video, I will post a banner above my head. I'll put a link for it in the description down below. You might want to check it out because there's some really cool stuff that's coming out and some stuff that you may want as well. In this particular video though, I'm going to be covering what I think is probably the most important car at Sema, and nobody is talking about it, and I don't know why. My assumption is because the car we're going to be talking about is a stock body 370Z. I mean, you'd walk right by it, looks just like a normal 370Z, but it has something that none of the other cars have. I mean, yeah, the other cars, you got TJ Hunt's Ferrari, you've got, Gabriel Iglesias's V-dub, there's cars with body kits, wings, lights, wraps, whatever. And that's great and all for the show, but it's nothing really all that new or groundbreaking. This car, however, has a Carb legal twin turbo kit. And not only is it the turbo kit, it's also the ECU and tune. So for those of us out here in California where we have to fight Carb to modify our cars, this guy's come up with a way. So I got very lucky. I ran into the guy who built the car, and he is willing to do an interview with me. So in this video, he's going to talk about what he went through to get the Carb certification, as well as some of the information about the turbo kit, and also his plans for the future. So not only does he have, I believe it's an 8 PSI turbo kit with a tune that runs, I think, around 350, 450 horsepower, I forget what he said. But he also has plans for the future where he's going to have tunes that can handle different fuels. So if you want to run flex fuel, multiple boost maps, and various other turbo kits. So you have options if you would like to daily drive your Turbo Z in California. And if you believe what I've been hearing, Colorado's not far behind us. So this is probably one of the most important cars at Sema, and no one's covering it. So in this video, let's hear from the builder.
Should have brought the smog people.
All right, so yeah, you've created a Carb legal twin turbo kit for the Z car.
Correct.
How did you go about doing that?
I teamed up with a guy out of Michigan. Yeah, he runs a company called BTW Tuning. It's btwtuning.com is his website. His name is Hussam. And him and I became friends. He was one of the first people to at least publicly mount these types of turbos to the VQ. And he was trying to get me to do it. And I told him, hey man, I'm in California. If I'm going to do something like this, it's going to have to be a project, and what do we do about that? Can you make some of these changes that we need to make to the kit? He agreed to do it, and a new friendship was born there. From there, he provided the piping. He came out, helped me do the first install, and provided some training. And from there, I worked on the calibration, and I started working with Sema here. They have a department that specializes in emissions compliance and testing.
Okay.
Surprisingly, they weren't as helpful as you would think, because I had a lot of questions about what I'm supposed to do, and I had a million questions. I think they probably got sick of me. But they play a very interesting role there. They'll bring you in, they'll test the vehicle, and they'll give you the results, but they're not going to give you necessarily any guidance on how to do it. So there was a lot of nail biting. It kind of reminds me of that TV show. I was at the facility where they do the testing, and I started picking up the phone and okay, you have 5 people you can call. Each one's going to give you advice, and then you have to decide what to do. And unsurprisingly, my personality, I didn't take any of their inputs, and you mess up the test, and you're out like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 just from one mistake.
Yeah.
And after a couple of days of pacing in the hotel room, they needed to put new carpet in. But I went in and I passed. So
Awesome.
got kind of lucky, I guess. I don't know.
So obviously, those of us who've dealt with turbos, like putting the turbos on is just the first part along with the piping. There's also the tuning, right?
That's critical.
Now, so when it comes to the tuning, that's typically where you get flagged with Carb. So is there a specific chip or program you developed that got the Carb certification as well?
Yeah. So these vehicles, they have ECUs, and anytime you change the calibration, you're essentially tampering with emissions. And so if you certify the vehicle, or recertify it, I should say, essentially what you're really doing is you're taking the same exact steps that the OEM did before they could sell the vehicle on public roads. That type of testing generally is where the fuel economy values come from. Now, you would think that they would measure how much fuel the vehicle burns as it's traveling some distance. It's not really how they do it. They do sort of in reverse, where they take the emissions, they weigh them, they put them in bags, they do all sorts of crazy things with them, and then the numbers come from the actual emissions calculated in reverse.
Okay.
And so back to your question, which was, remind me again, I already forgot.
No worries. It's just one of those things, like we know that slapping on turbos and pipes doesn't necessarily make
You're
something.
asking about the tune.
The
and how it all
tune,
plays
because
together.
that's
Right.
usually the biggest problem with emissions and Carb.
Correct. So yeah, so once we've recertified it, if we recertified it with, maybe we have a clown face inflating every time we accelerate, whatever it might be that's on the vehicle, if we can prove that configuration doesn't increase the emissions of the vehicle as it was tested when it was new. Mind you, they do have a deterioration factor, so the car's got 100,000 miles on it. They give you a little bit, there's a multiplier, and
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they've got to compare the stock value that it had versus the values that you were able to attain, and then that has to be within a certain percentage.
Okay.
And so at that point, you can program the ECU, you can change the intake diameter, you do whatever you want, as long as from an engineering review standpoint it makes sense. And as long as from an emissions standpoint it makes sense, and then they'll allow you to do whatever you want. There's really no limit.
Because we're used to, like, some people like reflash ECUs. Like if you have like the R35 GTR, you can just get like an EQ Tech reflash the ECU.
Well, that's not legal. But
Correct.
If somebody were to go out and say, look, here's an R35 that we tuned, they would share their calibration with the correct appropriate folks at Carb. They would do an engineering review first. And then after that engineering review, you would then be requested to perform a series of tests. It could range from a full round of testing to maybe even something more extensive, like placing the vehicle into a tent and capturing the evaporative emissions from the various hoses and whatever. So because that such thing doesn't exist, it's not Carb legal, and so you're essentially tampering with emission systems when you do that.
Yeah.
So that actually brings me to my next point. So I already knew that was a problem, obviously. And after I did the turbo kit, I said, well, wow, this was, attainable. Let me now do a Carb legal flash tune. So now I also, as of I think a couple months ago, maybe earlier this year, we attained a Carb EO for all VQ37 with no exclusion.
Whoa.
So you have an Infiniti, you have a Nissan Z, whatever you have, you can now get a legal tune. You just go to my website and you can order it. And it has more features in it than any other tune that you can buy anywhere. There's like 30 plus maps, whatever. It has a pin lock, anti-theft, you have adjustable traction control, automatic octane adjustment, everything's there.
Okay, and what's the website?
VQ37TT.com.
Awesome. And so do you also sell your turbo kit as well?
It's all on there. There's a race kit that's available if people are looking to build a track vehicle, they want to make a 1,000 wheel. Naturally, you need to upgrade the engine for that. Shouldn't have to say that. But you'd be surprised.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I've seen those.
Yeah, with the catalytic converters, the vehicles will remain extremely reliable in the OE configuration, me being the OE here. However, if you do remove the cats, if it's a stock engine, these turbos really like to spool up quick and they will snap the rods. So I recommend keeping the cats on. People also often say, like, hey, like this, this makes 400, whatever with the cats, and Stillen makes a Carb legal supercharger kit. It's also, Carb legal. Oh, it makes about the same power. Why would I pay more and go through the trouble? What's interesting is, the Stillen kit, and again, nothing against Stillen, great guys.
Yeah.
The power band, the supercharger, it's a centrifugal supercharger.
Yep.
It's crank driven.
Yeah.
So if you're driving around town, which is what most people do, or you're on the highway or wherever you are, you're sitting at, maybe 2,000-3,000 RPM, you're not going to get full boost. You have to downshift probably 2 gears, redline the motor to make that 8 psi. This will make the 8 psi like 2,500 RPM.
Not bad.
So even though both cars appear like they're making similar horsepower and they're both carb legal, this one will actually be a lot faster just because of the fact that it's not a supercharger.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer the power band on the turbo because, you have no low end, but then you have great upper end. Superchargers like the reverse because you're dependent on the belt. When you get to a certain RPM,
the power's just not there
limited.
unless the motor's spinning it. And then you run into issues like belt slip, bearings flying off all over the place.
Yeah.
And we have an upgrade package coming soon to this that's also going to be carb legal. Well, I don't want to count my eggs yet, but that's the plan. And we're going to be adding boost control. So we're going to be able to increase the 91 octane numbers from currently I think it's advertised at 430 wheel. We're going to go up to 550 wheel.
Okay.
And that may or may not include things like water injection. We'll see.
Okay. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, 91 octane. These cars don't like it. So
nobody does.
To get that kind of power out of it with turbos and cats on it, back pressure, you got all sorts of things to deal with. Also want to mention there's an awesome company we're working with out of Houston. It's called Total Racing Products.
I don't think I've heard of them, yeah.
I guess it's kind of a newer company. They're real popular in the GTR world.
Oh.
And they've been great. The owner there, I think, I don't know if he's the owner, but he's the contact I work with. His name is Vaughn.
Okay.
And the guy's been fantastic. Me and him worked together, and they helped develop a new unit, a CAN bus unit, that essentially what we can do. Normally, if you want to add sensors to these things, you got to disable or cut something off.
Yeah.
So he helped me develop he really did most of the development. I did the nagging. And now we have a box. In fact, I think I have it with me if you want to see it.
Sure.
So this is the company. It's TRP, Total Racing Products. And what's really cool about this thing is so this connects to the car using 2 wires. It sits right there in the battery compartment.
Okay.
And it puts this box on the CAN bus. So think of it like connecting like another Wi-Fi device, like a phone or something put on your network. So it's able to receive data from 3 analog sensors. So you've got each one of these 3 pins. It's one of them is a 12 volt reference, a 5 volt reference,
okay.
Ground, and then of course the signal from the sensor. And he provides all the harnesses and everything.
Jeez.
And then so you get 3 inputs that you can do. So you can do boost pressure from each charge pipe. You can do you can put a gyroscope in. You could you can imagine there's a
sensor.
You could do nitrous pressure sensors. You could do all sorts of. This has limitless applications, right? Then on this one, you can drive up to 3 PWM devices.
Oh.
2 of them would be ground PWM. 1 of them would be a power PWM. And then this connector here that allows for flex fuel input.
There we go.
And then other than that, that's it. It's a simple install, and then we tune this box using the Ecutech software.
Okay, I like that.
So this is going to be included in the new version of the kit. We're going to certify with this box attached to it.
Nice. Wow, that is...
Yep.
People in California are gonna want to see this, that's for sure, especially with the huge Z community that's just...
Absolutely. And especially for me as a, being in the market, you have to differentiate yourself because anybody can go out and make high horsepower numbers, but what's really difficult is to do that while getting the vehicles to drive just like stock, getting them to pass the original emissions a car had, because really clean emissions ultimately leads to the fact that you're getting good fuel economy and that you're not going to be spending a bunch of money on blowing gas out the tailpipe.
Yeah.
And you can still have all the power and you can have a lot of fun and reliability and not have to worry about doing whatever people do these days to smog these things.
Yeah. That's impressive. This is definitely one of the more interesting things at Sema, and they got you stuck outside.
I know. So you want to hear something cooler though? Listen to this. So Autometer,
okay,
which is the, I guess, current parent company for Ecutech.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was some kind of, I don't know the full details of it, but they're essentially Autometer now points and fingers over there. So they're the ones. So Ecutech took the vehicle to sort of represent Ecutech and essentially the umbrella of companies that are over there with Autometer. And Autometer won this year's highest level SEMA award. So if you go over there, they have a giant, like, some kind of metal statue that says SEMA on it and stuff, right? Really, really cool. And this vehicle being what it is, I'm honestly surprised that at the SEMA they have an award. It's kind of like the award ceremony they do on Tuesday morning. When they announced Autometer, they should have said, and thank you for Autometer for bringing the first ever, somebody put turbos and made them carb legal on a Z, like leading the way in the industry and in compliance so that people who are enthusiasts have a future to modify their cars legally.
Yeah. Wow. This is cool, man. I was not expecting this from this show, and this is amazing. So
Yeah, man. Thanks for
appreciate
hanging
it.
out.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And there it is. In my opinion, probably the most important car at SEMA. Yeah, it's not as flashy as some of the other cars that were there, but that Carb legal turbo kit and basically ECU and tune are very important, especially for the Z community. If they want to turbocharge their cars, they can now do it. They can go to that guy's website. He has everything you need to have a California legal turbo kit on your VQ engine. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go hit that thumbs up button to let me know. It does help the channel out a lot. As I did say at the beginning of the video, if you'd like to see more automotive, particularly GTR, S14, of course, general automotive content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on all forms of social media, which include Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. There'll be links for those in the description down below. Now, after watching this video, if you have any questions about SEMA, about this car, go ahead and post in the comment section down below. I will respond to you. I thank you all for watching, and until next time, forget everything else, focus on the finish line.